back to The Price of Business. I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business to be the smartest person you can be when it comes to sales, marketing, taking your company to the next level. And I'm going to ask my producer, the one and only Rusty, to go ahead and bring up our next guest here on this segment. Walter Rodgers, who got Walter Rodgers lined up. Walter Rodgers, of course, he's with Baker Communications, and I tell you, the guy's a genius, and that's why we have him on here every Wednesday to make our audience into a bunch of geniuses when it comes to sales and marketing. You're my go-to guy. You know, as you know, Walter, again, I have a company that is in the sales and marketing arena, and so I just steal information from you all day long. Walter, good to have you on the program.
Hey, thanks for having me back, Kevin, and we've got a guest with us as well, Jeff Kaufman with PricewaterhouseCoopers.
All right. Hey, Jeff, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us why you brought Jeff on today here, Walter.
Well, you know, we've been really focusing on the 11 habits of highly effective sales professionals, and the first habit we talked about was how, you know, for a sales pro to focus on how they can help instead of what they can sell. The second habit was all about asking more questions and listening much more carefully to what the client, your potential client, is saying. The third habit was getting in the habit of being flexible and creative, and today we're going to talk about the habit of building relationships across an entire customer organization, not just individual pockets. And Kevin, as you know, that many salespeople will simply call into one department, one person, find one decision maker, and just stay there. And of course, that creates massive risk, because if that person leaves for whatever reason, all of a sudden that sales rep is having to resell all over again. And what if I were to tell you, Kevin, that one of the greatest values that a sales professional can bring to a customer is helping them connect the dots between what different departments are doing? Because oftentimes organizations inside of a company don't even know what the other organization is doing, even though they might have the same charter. Mm-hmm. And Jeff with Price Waterhouse has just tons of experience with this specific topic, and is going to share some examples with us around how he's seen this unfold. So, Jeff, any thoughts from your end?
Sure. I spend my days helping one team after another of salespeople trying to win that next project. I've got one right now where one company bought another company, and their tax technology is very complex, and they want to merge it. So the IT group has sent out a request for proposal. But you know what? They didn't involve the tax department. So if we let the IT people just pull together what they think the tax department needs so they can file income tax returns, property tax, sales tax, I bet you the numbers aren't going to show up where they're supposed to be. So we've worked with the tax group and the IT group and even procurement. So now when we go to sell this and we have to work with all three of them, we're helping the company connect dots where they wouldn't have without our help.
Interesting. Let me ask you, what is the fundamental reasons why there's so much difficulty in terms of this communication, this cross-communication among the different parties?
I find that in our client organizations, they often live in silos. I'm an IT guy. I focus on IT. I've been told I have my IT projects, my budgets, I'm going to get it done. I don't always think through, the impact to the owners, to the people who are going to use that data, and that's where an outside party, a good salesperson, can bring those parties together and now make your IT contact look like a star when they really meet the needs of, in this instance, the tax department.
Interesting. You know, and Walter, I know you work with so many different types of clients. I'd love to get your feedback. What is this communication problem that you're seeing?
Well, basically, we see that there's at least 4 different types of buyers when you're selling to a company. There's the type of buyer that has a real financial focus. This person care about is the number, right? Are we purchasing it at the right price? What is the long-term impact of this purchase? Can we optimize the price? The second type of buyer is the functional buyer. This is the person that's actually going to use or consume the product or service that the company's buying. Sometimes they're concerned about price. Sometimes they're not. They're primarily concerned with, will it help them meet their business outcome? Mm-hmm. The third type of buyer is the technical buyer, and that is the individual that's really focused on speeds and fees. Is this the best technology that we can get? Is it going to block us? Is it going to put us into any kind of a hole that we can't get out of? Right, and then the fourth person is your gatekeeper, which sometimes that's an EA, an executive assistant, and other times it's somebody who's just intended to keep the keys to the kingdom. and they're typically very interested in maintaining status quo. Now, Jeff actually has a really interesting story about how you can leverage the executive assistants to help unblock an account. Jeff, why don't you share that?
Mm-hmm. Sure. One of my partners was trying to get hold and build a relationship with the chief information officer of a company. But every time his EA set up a phone call or a meeting, at the last minute it was canceled. So what did his executive assistant do? He reached out to the executive assistants of the CIO and said, why don't we go to lunch? So the two executive assistants went out, found out they have children near the same age, live one town away. They're now friends. Anytime my partner needs to reach that CIO, those meetings happen. They happen quickly. So here, recognizing the importance of the gatekeeper, our EA stepped out and made that relationship, and that has opened huge doors for one executive to speak to the other when they need to help both of them.
And you know what I love about that story, Kevin, is it drives home the point that it's not only the sales professional that's managing an account that can have impact on the success of that account. And oftentimes it's a broader account team, which includes, sales support resources, inside sales reps, outside sales reps, systems engineers, technical experts, et cetera, all of whom have specific touch points inside of an account. And that's how you can begin to go broader and broader and broader so that you can really get the full value out to that client instead of, isolating in one specific department. And
another message there that I see, Walter, is some people feel, I've got to go higher up in the organization, higher up, because that's where the power is.
Yeah.
There's power throughout here. And in this example, if we hadn't gotten the executive assistant, the meetings and calls and the advancement of the opportunity never would have happened. So look in all directions, up, down, and sideways.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like it's imperative. What are some things that long-term you can do? And before I ask this question, I want to give Jeff the opportunity to give the website there at Price Waterhouse real quick.
It's pwc.com.
pwc.com. People need to check it out. Of course, you got a legendary brand, and it's a phenomenal company, and we're delighted to be able to pick your brain a little bit here. But long-term wise, you can address these problems periodically in terms of the communication. What are some things you can do long-term wise to foster a culture of cross-communication, if you will?
Well, Jeff, I'll jump in here for a second and turn it over to you. It all really starts with the account planning process. So unless you know where your various decision makers are, influencers are, technical buyer, user buyer, all those different folks that I just described inside of an account, unless you understand the different divisions and how the divisions interrelate to each other and how one division can help another division make money or cost them money, that's where it all begins and ends. And once you've got that framework down, then you can really start to begin and execute a plan that foster this cross-team communication both inside of the sales team that's selling to an account and the account itself that's potentially buying that service. Jeff, your thoughts on that?
I agree entirely, and I work with my teams at least once a year where we have that account planning workshop where we focus on, here's the client's business issue. That aligns with our strength. Now we turn on what relationships do you need to extend discussions on that issue and turn that into revenue. When we look at relationships, it's never one person. It's doing, as you described, this whole circle of influence. And when I see an issue, my team then focuses on all those people who might touch that, whether it's a final decision maker, the EA, the engineer, each one of them, and then we come up with a plan to advance that relationship at all those levels, and then we make sure we execute. That makes a big difference and makes a long-term impact.
Great stuff. All right, let me ask you real quick, Walter Rodgers, what is our next article we can expect from you?
Well, we're going to continue to focus on this very important topic, and next week we're going to talk all about the habit of setting goals. Unless you know where you're going, you can pretty much get there with any means, but you've got to determine very specifically what goals you want to achieve, and then both consciously and subconsciously you'll begin to attain those goals, and that's what we're going to cover next week. Got it.
And I tell you, great article. It's the most recent one I saw there on getting in the habit of being flexible and creative. It's imperative that you create an environment that works, and I tell you, that requires both organizational work and a commitment from every single team member to have that attitude. Jeff, thanks so much for being a part of our program, contributing today.
My pleasure.
And Walter Rodgers, of course, every Wednesday. What an incredible resource that we have, and one of the most helpful and creative people in the whole sales and marketing arena. And so I appreciate your contribution as well.
Hey, you bet, Kevin. I just want to give our listeners one more small tip. If you don't know who a potential buyer is that you need to be calling in an account, there's a variety of tools on the Internet. There's one we particularly like called Jigsaw.
Oh, yeah.
You can go to jigsaw.com, and you can pretty much find anybody you want, download their information for free as long as you contribute information back. Awesome tool. Strongly suggest you check it out.
Yeah, and do also check out Baker Communications. Check out Baker Communications. Great contributions all the time here on The Price of Business and over at priceofbusiness.com. I am Kevin Price. You are listening to that program right here on Talk 650, powered by CBS Radio.